Hey, Guoba here, completely stunned after seeing the best animations in Honkai Star Rail so far. Acheron is stunning and the snippets of her kit excite me even more. We have another hypercarry Nihility unit, no more damage over time for a bit, and she still ties into the Nihility theme so much already. From what we saw alone, I can see Acheron a bit like what Ratio and Sparkle did, changing the value of certain units. So let's see what they revealed, and I'll give you my thoughts, as well as little details they hid in the stream. And I'll discuss her pull value at a first glance. A full guide with everything calculated will be out for her on her release, so subscribe if you want to catch that. So Acheron's first change in the meta is her ultimate not requiring energy. Sorry Tingyun, but you are finally out of the picture for our brand new hypercarry. This is nice though, having Tingyun free for your second team is never a bad scenario. But then how does she get her ultimate? It will be through debuffs. Allies debuffing the enemies or even self-inflicted debuffs will give her a charge 1 out of 9. 1 out of 9 reminds me of someone. This means already she'll have an advantage into every enemy composition that self-applies debuffs, and they discussed this briefly in the livestream. The robot dogs that give each other bleed, the death explosions from the fishies, even the swarm vulnerability explosions. And each new application is a new stack, so if she kills a whole wave of these bad boys, she can look to gain her ultimate back very soon. We could see a DPS without Tingyun hitting 2-turn ultimates. What this also means is debuffers are key. Now I don't like forcing team compositions on a unit just because it activates part of their kit, so I'll wait for her actual release, but it looks like Acheron will veer away from the Harmony hypercarry chamber every other carry has to go through, and instead she will be wanting Nihility units on your team instead. Now a thing shown in the live stream was Pella debuffing the enemies, and by the way, nice easy repeller. Anyway, Pella's ultimate reduces the defense of all enemies, which you'd think could give her 3 whole stacks to Acheron, but it only gives 1, or else that would be insanely strong. We also see an Acheron specific thing is applied whenever anyone is debuffed. So instead of AoE applications of debuffs, we want a lot of consistent application of debuffs. So who can debuff consistently? Whose value increases with Acheron in your roster? Well, Black Swan can every turn, but only her defense % shred will increase the damage of Acheron, and she would have to use the team skill points to do so. She applies Arcana when enemies take turn, but I feel that's way too OP if it gives stacks each time, and I'll test this for her guide. E1 Black Swan with Shock, perhaps from the Patience Light Cone on her or on Acheron, could end up being a fun but expensive support option. Perhaps really good into Pure Fiction with those initial Arcana applications. Grenifin and Sampo can debuff every turn even with their basics, and her Fire Kiss can increase the damage of Acheron slowly but surely, but Sampo's ult is useless for her. Both of them are also very good users of the Resolution Light Cone, giving yet again more damage amp. I think Grenifin is a great option for her because of all of this. Kafka can apply Shock every turn from her talent, every ultimate, and then also every turn on top of her talent when considering a debuff Light Cone. This can be a lot of easy debuff application, but it's another carry rather than a damage amplifier. It would be funny if despite not being a dot unit, she ends up using them anyways. Luca and Pella need resolution if they don't want to use their skill to apply debuffs, and Pella's value only looks to get better with Acheron out. Silverwolf might get some insane value with Acheron on your account. Her basics apply debuffs, her skill does, her ult does. She can build high speed like Pella and keep cycling debuff application. There's also a bug application upon breaking with her E2, leading to perhaps the highest energy charging for Acheron. And if E2 Silverwolf works for Acheron, then we will see some insane stuff, especially for Pure Fiction. I think Silverwolf enjoyers will be happy again. Now the final Nihility is Welt, and not only can he hold resolution and basic spam, debuff on ult, and debuff on technique, but Welt can be a pseudo sustain. If you've watched previous videos, I've been mentioning this more and more. It won't work into all types of enemies, but if you can replace your debuffless sustain with a Giga Chad Welt, well, you now have 3 whole units dedicated to debuffing the enemies. 1-turn ultimates maybe? Or you could even run Ruan Mei to help with the sustain and bring both of them DPS power. There is so much potential with Acheron. Speaking of sustain, abundance units may see a drop in value, and instead we will see preservation units being high value, especially one named Fire MC. Fire MC's taunt is a debuff, and then it makes everyone focus you. Now does anyone else remember that light cone that applies dots to enemies that attack you, but it wasn't much damage and kind of situational? Well, for ratio it applied a debuff for his passive, cool, but giving Acheron 1 stack every single time they are attacked could see Fire MC's value shoot up immensely. Don't take this as fact though, just yet. But it's not just limited to Fire MC. Japard, March, Fushuan, even Aventurine coming just after can all use this cone and become a dedicated debuffer for Acheron. And on the topic of Aventurine, it seems he will have debuffs as a sustain, and so will Gallagher. So you have so many different sustain options, and it's really exciting to see how the meta will shift with more debuff centered units and relics. Breaks will also apply debuffs onto the enemies, so there are additional debuffs available if you don't end up debuffing on an attack. I could talk about every debuff, and by the way, Clara and Hanyu's marks aren't debuffs. But that would be too much yapping. I'm just really excited. Also, let me know who you think will be an awesome synergy with Acheron. Her team comps look to be much different to our usual 2 Harmony cores, and I think she will be great fun and bring strategies to the game. She looks like she can do amazing in Memory of Chaos, and into Pure Fiction too, with her AoE hits and possible insane ultimate generation in this mode. And no, that wasn't a sponsored message. So let's talk about pull value. A new DPS will always be powerful, and she is a favorite character of Hoyoverse, so I think she will be OP. So damage and meta wise, I think she's always going to be an amazing DPS pull. Now, I think the only time you wouldn't want to pull her is if you already have Kafka and Jing Yuan and you're a low spender all free to play. You can still pull her, but having all 3 limited lightning carries might be a bit rough for your account diversity. Now, I think if you have an account with a bunch of debuffer units, you could definitely pull her as a way to get them back into relevancy. Ratio also enjoys debuffers, and everyone got him for free, so you'd now have 2 hypercarries that can use these units. If you want a new gameplay style, you're looking for a fresh new take on a DPS, then Acheron is for you. The no energy style and letting your teammates accumulate stacks, while similar to something like Misha, brings brand new strategy to the game and a brand new take on how ultimates are acquired. We can see more units like this that have a different way of ulting, and maybe subscribe for more will actually be useful. If you want a DPS that can synergize with your wanted Gallagher or Aventurine, then she seems great for that too. I think Aventurine is catering towards follow-up compositions, but nonetheless he looks like an awesome sustain and will bring damage amping and debuffs. Also, with her technique, she looks to make Overworld and Simulator Universe much easier to farm, which is a nice quality of life bonus. Now, one scary thing is her light cone options. Her signature's passive wasn't revealed yet, but expect it to be highly synergistic with her like any other DPS 1. Whilst we absolutely have an awesome 4-star option in Good Night Sleep Well, it is fully damage percent based and has no crit on it. Incessant Rain is the only Nihility cone so far with crit in its passive, so you might have trouble building a nice ratio on her. And since she will want debuffers on her team ideally, I don't think you can band-aid her poor crit ratio with a Harmony unit for once. So whilst her teams may be exciting, they may also make her a bit harder to build. Good Night Sleep Well should work perfectly though as a 4-star light cone, and it is on her light cone banner if you don't end up getting her signature. So I think it will be okay, and we always have other DPS options like Patience and Welt's cone that also give DPS power. Her full kit is yet to be revealed, and we don't know the full extent of what the weird marks are or what buffs she gets from her own kit, as well as her traces and eidolons. So I'll see you on her release and explain everything about her. Are you excited for Acheron? Let me know below if you're going to pull, and I hope you enjoy this kit reaction. Thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a go day.